Hey dudes, what's going on, brothers? I'm Serious JG. Welcome back to a video where I could get on with the plot. I should get on with the plot. I want to show you a handful of things that I did off screen just so I don't feel like they were omitted content or anything. I've done so much more off-screening in this game than I intended to, because I did a ton of off-screening before we ever really left the Galbadia continent, other than that one mission to Dalit. You know, leveling up, all that crazy amount of off-screening. This is, well, with the 3 times battle speed, it's nowhere near as bad as it would have been. But I got quite a few riff tracks and other LPers, LPs. For fans of my channel who don't know, I tend to watch everything that Zerfall does, everything that Bobo does. He's not active at the moment in LPing. And quite a bit of All Dragon, Grimmeth, and Lethal Feline. So there you go. But, actually, I think I watch about 1% of Grimmeth's content, and I love every second I watch, and barely scratch the surface of all the content he has out there. But anyway, what am I talking about? Yeah, so I did all that crazy leveling during that part of the game where you could use Cypher and suffer no penalties for just leveling up and fighting normally. Because Cypher is going to be discarded from your party after the Dalit mission. You never get Cypher back as a party member, which is fine, because that's just the story doesn't go in a direction where you're using him again. But I ended up falling into this pattern of off-screening last time. It's just silly stuff. Like, I was using my desktop to process videos, and it was having some crashing issues, and I wasn't wanting to use the desktop to record new content while also processing old videos, and then, like, then I had food that was coming via DoorDash, and I didn't want to start a video. There was, like, a bunch of little stupid reasons I ended up off-screening, and it was really low efficiency off-screening, doing things that didn't have a huge amount of reward. But I'll give you an example. One thing a fact told me that I really needed to do was fight a whole bunch of, there's a specific item I needed to get in order to make Lionheart, Squall's ultimate weapon. Which, honestly, now that I think about it, I might be able to sneak back to Timber and make Lionheart. As a matter of fact, I'll see about that during this video, because this is going to be kind of a catching up with off-screening video. I know this is the slowest paced LP that's ever happened. I hope you guys are okay with it. If you're not, there's probably a ton of other LPs of this game. And I don't take it personally. But yeah, this is kind of a meandering. It's a relaxing, non-linear Final Fantasy adventure. Steambot Final Fantasy. But actually, this is the most Steambot Chronicles of all Final Fantasy games. The existential threat to the world at this point is kind of loosey-goosey. It's hard to take the Galbadian army seriously as a threat when all the soldiers we come across from it seem like comic relief stooges. And at this point in particular, there isn't much of a world threat. It's kind of Breath of Fire 3-ish in that way. You're just going around having a series of adventures. So though eventually there is going to be a world threat here. But here's what I wanted to do. Yeah, so like, why am I doing it this way? There's an enemy that we can encounter at this particular place here, and they're like, its regular drop as an enemy is an item you need to get Lionheart. So I was running around here a lot, encountering Grendels. And when you fight these guys and you use the card command on them, it does Tailblade, it uses lightning magic, it's not that threatening. If you use the card command, you still get item drops, which I kind of remembered, and I was like, oh, great! Because I was worried that if I fought it for items, I was going to get experience, and that was going to be a problem. And then I realized, oh, if you defeat it with card command, that eliminates all experience gained, and you get a card, but it doesn't actually eliminate... The 2 things it doesn't eliminate are regular item drops and ability points for your GF, which is why, you know, I did all this off-screening using the card command, fighting fish, to get all the skills for my early Guardian forces. Usually it'd be fairly, if you're just playing the game normally and not power leveling, you're going to be fairly far into the game before eventually Quetzalcoatl and Shiva and Ifrit will be leveled up. There are 3 whole rows of Guardian forces before the end of the game. But, yeah, these guys will be fully leveled up by the time you're getting the late game forces, but they're leveled up way early now. So that's one thing I did. One enemy that I fought. Another thing that I did, because I fought a bunch of them to get the item that I needed, and I ended up getting a bunch of cards that were of fairly minimal usefulness to me. But there's also an enemy that I was fighting and getting some gain out of, because like I said, I was trying to kill time and not being able to record. I was just in a Final Fantasy VIII mood, but not able to record, so I was running around in the forests. There's various parties. Hopefully, no, Anacondors ain't it. I don't really care about Anacondors. I guess I'm just showing off enemies that have been of some import to my off-screen activities, so you can see what they look like. Not these guys, although I guess if you hadn't seen a cockatrice before, I'd used the card game to get all the cockatrice items to get break. Wendigos are kind of a fun enemy. I always refer to them as the butt-faced monkey, because they kind of look like butt-faced monkeys. At higher levels, you can get Protect from them and Berserk, because they're an entirely physical attack-based guy. And I just carded it. I'm not sure why I did that. Did I get Jumbo... Did it say I got Jumbo Cactuar card? Why the hell did I get that instead of a... That's weird. And now I've got somebody actually texting me when I sent somebody a little Discord message, not realizing they were actually on right now, and then started recording, and now they're immediately reaching back, and I'm like, I didn't actually want to talk to you. Interesting. I didn't realize that I could get some other card from that monster. But Cactus Thorn, so it doesn't mod into anything particularly useful. But that is a card I didn't have before, so that's interesting. That actually makes this progress worth saving, oddly enough. Now, the Wendigo has some, like, really funny-looking attacks. Like, it can jump at you, crush you into a basketball, bounce you around. It's, like, kind of comical. So I probably should have let it show off that attack. Oh, and I suppose I should be scanning some of these guys, too, if I'm going to claim that that's a thing I'm doing as part of this LP. So yeah, just consider this your monster wrap-up episode. The cockatrice petrifies enemies with its stare, uses thunder by flapping its wings, uses electrocute when fully grown. So we'll run away from that. I guess I'll scan a... I should have scanned the Grendel. I should have scanned the Wendigo, which I guess is like a North America Native American mythological beast, if I recall correctly. Oh, that's right, you don't actually have magic that you get to use. Wendigo, a strong monster, but not good at using magic. Uses powerful physical attacks and relying on its strength instead. So it fights kind of like the, I don't know if it's called Wendigo, or there's probably a variation on it, a palette swap version of it called Wendigo. Let's give it a chance to do most of its attacks, because some of them are kind of funny. Maybe it has to get really high level before it does the one that I consider the funny one. Doesn't seem to be doing it. Because Arm Hug ain't it. Give you one more chance to do something fun. Okay, you didn't do anything fun. There's a specific enemy that I'm trying to encounter. There it is. This guy, it's a pain in the butt to get them to encounter, because the encounter rate seems to be pretty low. And Squall has a bad habit of killing it in one turn before you can use the card command if you execute the gun blast during his sword strike correctly. But this is the Ochu. Likes to live in forests. That's a great descriptor. Some of these Ochus live in the city, but they always long of saving up enough money to get a little place out in the forest. Attacks with its tentacles and also uses status-changing attacks. So these guys are kind of a pain in the butt if you're low level. Because I have 100 times Faraga Junction to attack, that's why Squall's able to murder it so effectively. Because I remember playing this game years ago, and they're almost like a mini-boss. Like, you really need to be prepared before you fight this thing, because it can inflict sleep, blind, and poison, which is a real pain in the butt early in the game. If you're trying to have, like, this really efficient run, just because it takes resources to get rid of poison. Let's hit Timber real quick and see if I can actually get Lionheart now, because I do have the required items. Well, at least I have the required item that the fact mentioned was easiest to get now against Grendel. And it is not yet available. Okay. Alright. So I should have actually scanned a Grendel. Don't worry, it'll be pretty quick and easy to encounter one. There's a few enemies, blood souls and stuff. Oh yeah, this is a fun thing that we didn't really have a chance to notice before. There's all sorts of places you could physically get to. There's no way you're getting through. But yeah, the Galbadian army has set up these roadblocks. I'm busy. I'm too busy to arrest you, guy who we are specifically trying to stop. So we'll encounter a Grendel so I can scan it, I suppose. And then we'll move on. Hey, the best surprises always sneak up from behind, right? Grendel, a smaller type of dragon, sometimes appears in groups of two, may be more dangerous than other dragons. It is not more dangerous than other dragons. So, the name Grendel, I mean, that comes from Beowulf, obviously. I don't know that thing really... Other than them using the name, I don't know that has a whole hell of a lot to do with Grendel. And there's a couple of encounters here. We can just... Here we go. This is the one I wanted, because I think this is it for unique enemies around here that you haven't seen before. So this would be this way I can do a couple of scans, give you guys a little idea of some of the regular monsters around the zone. We've seen all of these guys in the card game. Blood Soul floats with gas that fills its body. Looks weak, but its status changing attacks may prove otherwise. Undead flying monster. These things are a huge pain in the butt. They're very easy to kill. They don't have a lot of hit points. And I think they're weak against... They're strong against poison. They must be weak against fire, because I think Squall and Selfie are both very weak against Holy. Is it weak against fire? Weak against fire, yeah. Because they tend to get one hit killed by Squall, who has Faraga Junction to its attack. But, yeah, they cast stuff like Blind, Zombie. They're a real pain in the butt. Like, if you don't care about killing monsters to gain experience, as I've become obsessed with, you definitely want to kill these guys first in any battle where you encounter them, just because they're not that hard to kill, but the status stuff they do will make things annoying. And then we have... Belhelmel. I don't know what this thing is a reference to as far as mythology, although, like, weird... I've seen this enemy type in other Japanese RPGs, like, oh, it's got a happy face, but if you flip it around, it has a mean face. Like, I remember that kind of thing showing up in Paladin's Quest. So I don't know if it's a reference to something from Eastern mythology or what, but it is a rotating blade around its face. Its battle tactics change when its face changes. It laughed. What? Fly monster. Weak against holy. Strong against lightning. It's laughing. But they don't usually live... Like, I don't know what the deal is with its battle tactics changing, because they're not particularly difficult to kill. So you tend to kill them before figuring out whatever its gimmick is. Anyways... So the end result of all this off-screening is basically that, because the Ochus drop, Ochus drop magic stones. So I was fighting them to get magic stones, and then I played a little bit more of the card game to get wizard stones through refining cards. And as you can see, if you've been paying attention, I went from 40 plus magic stones and 50 plus wizard stones, only having 2 of each, because I finally did cash them in, and now our primary party members have haste, slow, and stop all in there. We've only got room for 2 more spells, so we're going to run out again pretty soon. I'm going to have to start getting rid of stuff like... I might have to get rid of Demi if it's not junctioning to anything. I might have to get rid... because, you know, we're never going to use that spell. Might have to get rid of Zombie because it's not usually worth using for much of anything. Eventually, yeah, it's gonna be painful to do it. I'd love to have another party member who could just kind of be a saddle horse, a mule, to carry our spells that we don't use regularly. Maybe we'll get one soon. At any rate. Here's a big, weird-looking building. You don't suppose this is where we're supposed to be going next in the story, do you? I think it might be. I think it just might be. Okay, we've got flying individual personnel carriers and guys yelling out militaristic stuff. I know it's my real-life background in accounting, and you shouldn't think about this in fantasy games, but I do have to wonder where the hell the money's coming from for all this. If this is the garden, and they just accept any student and kick them out after a certain age, whether they're successful graduates or not, they must have like some really well-to-do alumni, because I don't understand how this is all supposed to be paid for. But you just got it's a garden, but you got people flying around being weirdos in their jet suits. I hear the sorceress is residing in the capital. Okay. Is that what you, Boyd? Whatever. Jeez. I didn't mean for Squall to talk to himself there.
Wow, completely different.
Sure is quiet. I like it. Renoa thinks it's hilarious that Squall likes this place.
Could you leave this one up to me? I've been here several times and I know the headmaster pretty well. I'll go and explain our situation.
So that kicks her out of the party. We can reform. I put Renoa, or I put Zell in the party before. For whatever reason, off screen, like I was really running out. I was waiting for my DoorDash to get here. I was really at my wit's end for useful ways to be playing the game while waiting and not recording. And eventually I was like, oh, I'll start the next plot sequence just in case there's, you know, in case I think of any hilarious quips to make, but this was about as far as I got. Just like 2 minutes of content before my food arrived. But I did choose Zell, and when you have Renoa standing around with nothing to do but you to talk to her, she says, "This place sure seems different from your garden," which is a little weird, because I wouldn't think she was that familiar with our garden, although she has been there, I suppose. So instead we'll have... we'll see what Zell has to say. I guess we could see what Selfie has to say. Doesn't matter. Let's see what Selfie has to say.
It's totally different from Trevia or Balam Garden.
So that's essentially the same thing Renoa said. The only thing is, yeah, now that I think about it, Selfie's backstory, such as it is that she's a transfer student from Trevia Garden, which we have not visited yet. This is the sort of game that only mentions locations if you go there, because this is one of those worlds that has about 6 places where people live. So we will eventually go to Trevia Garden. It's not a huge part of... Well, never mind. I'm not going to say anything about Trevia Garden, because you'll get to see it for yourselves, and its role in the story for yourselves later. So... There's an announcement. There's also a draw point hidden here. Haste, which I would have probably liked to have known about before I used all my magic stones to get haste. But that announcement, which I didn't bother to read, was telling us to meet on the second floor. Oh, look, they have people dressed for gym and somebody from IG. It's Gym Coach Man. The reception room is located on the stairs to the right. He just stands there with his hands on his hips. He's Bud Man. How many times I told you not to run in the hallway? Give me some push-ups now. They weren't running in the hallway. Piece of cake. 5, 6, 7. You know what? There's one good thing about having to do push-ups. Uh-oh. Oh. Okay, game. We got it. He looked up the girl's skirt. Nice. So, they want us to go up the stairs to the right. Can I even talk to you, girl who's... Okay, it's nice... Oh. Can we play cards with you? No. So the girl who is summoned so that her panties can be watched by a push-up guy is not an important character otherwise. I'm curious how many places we can explore in this garden. And there's actually quite a few. We can wander around all over the place without... Shell spell? We can do quite a bit of wandering around here without... yes. But we do have people blocking us from going places. You're not allowed beyond here. And we'll get the same... Oh. Yeah. So you may be wondering, how come there's so many places the game's preventing you from going? And there seem to be a lot of save points at different places around here. Well, don't think about it too hard. Play some cards. Let's just see if you have different funky rules. No, you don't. Never mind. So we're not going to bother to play cards with this kid. I don't know if we can ever get to that second floor zone where those guys are at. See, from Bottom Garden, get to the second floor. Lecture room. Areas off limits. Yeah, so they have these gym coach assholes waiting to stop us from going anywhere. That the plot doesn't want us to go right this minute. But, yeah, as you can see, there's a fairly big designed area, and there's lots of save spots. So you might be wondering if later on in the game, we're going to be coming back here and doing something else. Ophelia continued to run for her love. Robin, day after day. Love turns gray, like the... Never mind. Going into Pink Floyd mode.
Oh gosh, I can't put this down.
Oh, it's like that book from Red Dead Redemption 2. NWO for life, baby, too sweet. That's not even a reference to Red Dead Redemption 2. That's a reference to Bobo making a comment on my video. I heard the sources has the ability to brainwash others. I wonder if it's true. Why do I have a man's voice? The reception room isn't here. Go back down the hall and turn right. Don't interrupt our practice. Yeah, though you can explore a surprising amount of this place. They don't cut off everything. Oh man, the life spell. That's one of the ones that I've been needing. Heard about the hockey team made up of a bunch of monsters? We're going to play them next week. To tell the truth, I'm kind of worried. Some guy told me they play so rough, some of our guys might get killed. Oh. Transfer student from Trebia Garden. They've got random, same plus, and 1. The open rule is spread throughout this region. Okay, good. That is one of the desirable things. Okay, so the fact actually mentioned you'll eventually find a guy from Trebia Garden. and that you should play cards with him to get rid of... Apparently it's easier to do now than when you actually visit Trabia. As silly as this sounds, I actually need to now find a save point, because I need to play cards with people who are from around here and spread the correct rules. So we did come to the next plot zone. It's just that once I got here, I have card minigame mechanics to manipulate. So I guess I can do that off screen because we're almost at the end of the video. I don't want to go all the way into the second floor reception room, but maybe this guy will play cards. Oh, but we can go there until we hear from the Master, the famous Doctor Who villain. I wonder if it'll be one of the classic series Masters. Maybe it'll be Oh, okay, we can't come up to this. We saw people wandering around up here before. We actually can visit this zone. Doesn't appear to be a whole lot of reason to do so. All of these places are probably... It's clear what we're meant to be doing here if we come back later.
The master here seems to have a business relationship with the headmaster at Ballum Garden. I hear it's one of those under the table sketchy deals, though.
The Master says you can't stay here, etc. Ladies and gentlemen, the Torgo players. So yeah, I'm supposed to... Oh, damn, that was the person I was waiting for. I'm supposed to play cards with people, going back and forth between people from different regions until I get the open rule and get rid of random at Trabia, because apparently that'll be very useful later in like late game for getting all the cards. And I do, folks. I hope you understand this, and I hope you believe too, as I do, in the heart of the cards. All right, when we come back next time, guys, we actually will advance the plot, I swear, because I wanted to show off some of the monsters in the local area. I wanted to, and now I ran into that Trabia Garden person. I can take a few minutes off screen and just run back and forth, save loading as needed to manipulate card rules to make it easier. The two card rules you do not want, there are some like same wall and same and element, which make the card game more unpredictable and kind of annoying because the AI will always know exactly the right way to take advantage. And you'll have to sit there thinking through moves much longer than is really warranted in such a stupid minigame. But the two you really don't want are random, and then you want to make sure the open rule is always in effect. You always want open in effect because that's the one that lets you see your opponent's cards, because it's kind of been documented over the years by Final Fantasy players that the computer always knows what your cards say. There is no difference where the AI acts like it doesn't know what your cards are when it places its cards if the open rule is off. The open rule means you can't see each other's cards, but the computer basically cheats on that one. So you always want open in effect, and then you never want random in effect because it means you don't get to pick your cards. So you don't get to pick the best cards that are available to you. You get stuck with rando cards. So I will take a few minutes off screen to do that little bit of card rule manipulation so you don't have to sit through it. And when we come back next time, the story will be advanced, I promise. See you then.